Hey everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
I'm ready. What are we diving into today?
Well, today we're tackling a topic that I think a lot of people will find pretty interesting. We're going to be looking at some common objections to Christianity.
Oh, okay. So are we going to be debating those objections or?
No, not debating. Our goal is to really understand these different perspectives, like where people are coming from.
Okay, I like that. It's about empathy and understanding rather than trying to win an argument.
Exactly. And to help us explore these objections, we're turning to the book, Understanding Objections to Christianity, A Faithful Response.
So we've got a guide for our deep dive.
We do. So have you ever wondered why some people just don't buy into the whole Christianity thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question that comes up a lot, especially in today's world.
Right. And we're going to try to unpack some of those reasons. We'll be looking at arguments like religion causes division and conflict, the idea that the Bible is full of contradictions, the challenge that science disproves Christianity.
Wow, those are some big ones. It's going to be fascinating to see how this book addresses those objections.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig in. Okay, so let's jump right into the first objection. Religion causes division and conflict.
Oh yeah, that's a common one. People point to wars, political divides, all that kind of stuff.
Right, and it's easy to see how that perception arises. History is full of examples where religion has been intertwined with conflict.
Right. But I think it's important to distinguish between the teachings of Christ themselves and how people have sometimes twisted and misused those teachings.
You mean straying from that core message of love and unity that Jesus preached?
Exactly. Think about John 13.34, where Jesus says, "Love one another." That's the bedrock of Christianity.
Yeah, it's a simple message, but a powerful one.
And yet we see so many instances where that message has been ignored or distorted, leading to actions that completely contradict it.
So it's like the problem isn't the religion itself, but how humans have sometimes used it.
Yeah. It's about human failings and interpretations that have led to division and conflict.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not about pointing fingers at religion as the culprit, but acknowledging how our human imperfections can cloud the true message.
Right. And it raises a crucial question for us as Christians. How can we better embody Christ's teachings in a way that fosters genuine unity and compassion?
Yeah. How do we bridge divides instead of creating them? That's something to think about. Okay, moving on to the next objection. The Bible is full of contradictions.
Oh yeah, this is another one that comes up a lot. I've definitely heard this from people who are skeptical of Christianity.
I think even some people who grew up in the church have probably stumbled upon passages that seem to conflict or wondered how certain stories can be reconciled.
It's true. The Bible is a complex collection of writings. It spans centuries. It was written by different authors with unique perspectives.
So it's natural that there would be some variations in style, in level of detail, even seemingly conflicting accounts.
Right. But this book emphasizes that those variations don't negate the overarching narrative of God's love, the promise of salvation, the pursuit of truth that runs throughout the entire Bible.
So it's about looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly. And 2 Timothy 3.16 tells us that all scripture is God-breathed, meaning inspired by God, even though human hands wrote it down.
So we need to approach the Bible holistically, taking into account the context of each book and keeping that grand narrative in mind.
Exactly. And what might seem like a contradiction at first glance can actually enrich our understanding, adding layers of depth and meaning to the overall message.
So instead of getting hung up on a single thread, it's about appreciating the entire tapestry.
Yes, with all its intricate details and variations. And it encourages us to dig deeper, to explore the historical and cultural nuances that shaped the Bible's creation, recognizing that it's a multifaceted text filled with wisdom and insight.
Okay, now for an objection that often sparks heated debate. Science disproves Christianity. This is where things get really interesting, especially when we consider topics like creation versus evolution.
Right, where faith and reason seem to clash. And this objection often arises from the assumption that science and faith are inherently incompatible.
Like they're locked in a battle for truth.
Yeah, but I know many Christians, including myself, who view science and faith as complementary lenses through which we can understand the world.
So they're not mutually exclusive.
Not at all. Take, for example, the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang doesn't diminish belief in God's power.
If anything, it enhances our awe and wonder at the magnificent creation that science reveals.
Precisely. It's like science explores the how of things, while faith delves into the why.
Ooh, I like that. How versus why. And Psalm 19.1 captures this sentiment beautifully. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands.
It suggests that the natural world itself, as explored through science, offers a glimpse into the majesty of the Creator.
So we don't have to choose sides. We can embrace the richness of both scientific discovery and spiritual understanding.
Absolutely. And appreciate the vastness and complexity of the universe in a whole new light.
Okay, this next objection tackles a deeply personal and often painful question. How can a loving God allow suffering?
Ooh, that's a tough one. And honestly, there are no easy answers. Christianity doesn't shy away from the reality of suffering. It confronts it head on.
But how do we reconcile the idea of a loving God with all the pain and suffering we see in the world?
Well, it's important to understand that God, in his love, granted us free will.
Free will. But doesn't that open the door for both good and bad?
It does. It allows for incredible acts of love, but also the potential for immense harm.
Okay, I see. So free will is part of the equation. But is there more to it than that?
The Bible also teaches that suffering, while incredibly difficult, can lead to spiritual growth. It can deepen our understanding of God's love and presence in our lives.
So suffering can have a purpose beyond the pain itself. That's a perspective I hadn't fully considered before.
Think about Romans 5:3-5. It speaks of how enduring suffering produces perseverance, character, and ultimately, hope.
So it's not about pretending that suffering doesn't exist or offering simplistic solutions to complex pain.
No, it's about walking alongside those who are hurting, offering comfort, and reminding them that they are not alone.
It's about empathy and compassion.
Exactly. Sometimes the most meaningful response is simply to be present with someone in their pain. And let's not forget the most powerful example of God's empathy, the crucifixion of Jesus.
Right. God himself experienced suffering firsthand, embodying the depths of human pain.
It shows us that God isn't distant from our suffering.
Now, this next objection delves into the realm of faith and the diversity of beliefs. There are so many religions. How can Christianity be the only true one?
The question of exclusivity. It's a stumbling block for many people.
It can be hard to grasp, especially in a world with so many different faiths and spiritual practices.
Christianity claims to have the sole path to salvation, a unique relationship with God.
I could see how that could be a challenge for some people. In a world with so many different beliefs, how can one religion claim to hold the exclusive truth?
Well, Jesus himself made exclusive claims. John 14:6 is a clear example. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Okay, so those claims are right there in the text. But how do we interpret those claims?
It's not about arrogance or condemnation of other faiths. Christianity is about a personal relationship with God. And we believe that Jesus offers a unique and profound path to that relationship.
So it's not about comparing religions or deeming one superior to another?
No, it's about emphasizing the personal connection we have with God through Christ.
Okay, I'm starting to see the nuances here. It's not about dismissing other beliefs, but about sharing the Christian message with humility and respect, allowing others to discover their own path.
Exactly. While we respect and honor other faith traditions, we believe that the Christian faith offers a distinctive revelation of God's love. It's an invitation to experience a deep and transformative connection with the divine.
Okay, I'm beginning to grasp the nuances here. It's not about dismissing other beliefs, but about sharing the Christian message with humility and respect, allowing others to discover their own path while remaining true to our own convictions.
Right, and that raises another crucial point. How do we, as Christians, engage in these conversations about faith without appearing judgmental or superior?
Especially when discussing this idea of exclusivity. It's a delicate balance, but definitely one worth striving for.
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure, finding that balance. But that kind of leads us to another objection, one that questions the very nature of faith. Faith isn't rational, it's based on emotion.
Yeah, I had heard that one too. People see faith as this leap of blind belief with no evidence or logic behind it.
It's true that faith often involves a deep sense of trust, surrender. But does that mean it has to be completely devoid of reason?
Right, that's what I've always wondered about.
Yeah, and this book makes a really interesting argument that faith and reason aren't actually mutually exclusive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Throughout history, there have been so many brilliant minds, scientists, philosophers, theologians, who have found harmony between their intellect and their belief in God.
So it's not like you have to check your brain at the door when you step into a church.
Not at all. Christianity actually encourages intellectual engagement. It invites us to grapple with those complex questions.
So there's room for both faith and reason.
Absolutely. There's a rich tradition of theological and philosophical thought that explores the depths of faith, existence, the nature of God.
Wow, I never really thought about it that way.
And let's not forget about the historical evidence for Jesus' life, death, and resurrection that's been rigorously studied and debated for centuries.
So faith can be a springboard for deeper exploration, not a barrier to critical thinking.
Exactly. And remember, 1 Peter 3.15, it says, "Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have."
Oh yeah, so faith isn't blind.
Nope. It's grounded in reason, experience, and a deep conviction of the truth.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about seeking understanding, not just blindly accepting things. But this next objection is one that can be particularly tough, especially for those of us within the church. Christians are hypocritical and judgmental.
Ugh, yeah, that one stings a little.
It's sad, but I think we've all encountered people who claim to be Christian, but whose actions don't quite match up.
Yeah, sadly, it's a reality, and this book doesn't shy away from it.
But if we're striving to be followers of Christ, shouldn't we hold ourselves to a higher standard?
Absolutely. Our actions should reflect the love and compassion we preach, but we have to remember that we're all human,
Yeah.
meaning we're flawed. We all fall short of the ideal.
So we're not perfect.
Nope. And Christianity acknowledges that. Romans 3.23 reminds us, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God.
So how do we reconcile that with the call to live a Christ-like life?
It's a journey, a process of growth and transformation. We're not going to get it right all the time.
It's not a destination we reach overnight.
Exactly. And that's where humility and compassion come in. We need to extend grace to others, recognizing that we're all on this journey together.
And offering forgiveness,
Yeah.
just as God has forgiven us.
Precisely. So yeah, there will be times when we fall short, but it's about acknowledging our imperfections, striving for growth, and extending grace to others.
Wow, this deep dive has been quite the journey. It's amazing how exploring these objections can lead to so much introspection and actually strengthen our own faith.
It's true. Faith isn't static, it's dynamic. It's a journey of growth, questioning, seeking truth.
And we don't have to have all the answers right away.
Nope. Sometimes the questions themselves are the most valuable part of the journey. It's about being open to different perspectives and engaging in thoughtful dialogue.
And always striving to live out our faith with authenticity.
With a willingness to learn and grow.
And maybe most importantly, remembering that at the heart of Christianity is a message of grace, forgiveness, and love. A love that extends to everyone.
Regardless of their beliefs or doubts.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, tackling those challenging objections to Christianity. But where do we go from here? It's like we've been wrestling with some pretty deep stuff.
We have. And honestly, it's easy to get caught up in all the back and forth, especially when we're talking about something as personal as faith.
Yeah, like it becomes about winning the argument instead of understanding the other side.
Exactly. But for me, this deep dive has really highlighted the importance of listening, empathy, really trying to understand where people are coming from.
Yeah, I agree. It's not about having all the right answers or shutting down different perspectives.
It's about approaching these conversations with humility and respect.
I love that. Humility and respect.
And it makes me think of that verse from 1 Corinthians 13.13. It says, "And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love."
Oh, that's a good one.
It's like that's how we should be engaging with these objections. With love. Seeking to understand rather than to judge.
Our actions speak louder than words, right?
Right.
If we truly believe in a God of love and grace, we need to show that in how we treat others.
Even those who disagree with us.
Especially those who disagree with us. So that leads us to a final thought-provoking question, I guess. Something for everyone listening to ponder. If Christianity is all about love, how can we better demonstrate that when we're talking about faith?
How can we hold on to our own convictions while also respecting those who have different views?
It's a tough balance, but I think it's so important, especially in a world where faith is often questioned and challenged.
It's about living out our faith authentically, not just defending it, but embodying it.
And that's what we've been exploring in this deep dive. Understanding objections to Christianity. We hope this has been helpful. giving you some food for thought.
Yeah, and remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking truth.
with an